Welcome to Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie. Doc has the day off, and wouldn't you know it, they let us be together again, okay? Wozy Lambert, we must have done something right, Woz, because they haven't banned us from sharing the screen together, but there's always an opportunity to do that today. How are you?
I'm good, man. It's always fun to go right up into that line with you, Sharon.
Yes.
And just pull it back ever so slightly. It's always fun to do that.
Okay. Well, what do you say we get into it, Woz? Because there are a lot of big, and where are you today?
I'm actually back in California. I spent 2 days in Las Vegas celebrating a family member's 50th birthday. Shouts to my cousin Lenz.
Your baby cousin. All right, I'm sorry. Okay. Well, happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday to him. And we had planned this months ago, but it was, man, an opportune time to actually be out of LA for a couple of days. But I'm back, and my area is relatively safe at the moment, and we're just hoping that it stays that way.
Well, I don't know if you drove or if you were in a plane and got a sky view of what was going on in Los Angeles, but it's just the devastation continues. And of course, we've been covering it all. But back to this first story. Here's the headline. Black victims of LA fires falsely accused of being looters. So in the middle of devastation, death, literally, things are on fire. And Black people are still being wrongly accused. Give you the details. Have you seen these viral images circulating around the news of the Los Angeles fires? These two gentlemen, viral video, Black men helping their relatives save valuables from the wildfires, falsely accused now of looting by conservatives. And this sparked a fury online. Controversy erupted when the Chingon conservative, MAGA-inspired influencer with 49,000 followers shared a video on Instagram showing several Black men moving furniture and valuables from a home threatened by flames, framing them as criminals and creating a false narrative out of the whole cloth. I mean, this is crazy. If it were anyone else fleeing, grabbing things, is this the narrative you would come up with without any evidence? The edited video quickly went viral on the platform X, where numerous right-wing operatives eagerly shared it to push the racist narrative. only to later discover they'd completely misjudged the situation. I mean, it's so reckless that, is it on purpose? I don't know if it's a mistake after a while. This is what I call willful misconduct. You have no context, and yet this is what you're saying. Friends of it at Atlanta Black Star sharing the details with us. Another angle of the same news clip showing the same men moving furniture also features the homeowner speaking with news crews about salvaging her belongings from the flames as they were being removed from her home. Yet many blindly accepted the falsified story and ran with it. It's that simple, highlighting how easily discrimination spreads on social media through misinformation and unchecked biases. Many were angered by the false allegations because they're Black. They must be looting. This isn't an honest mistake, one person on X noted. You see what I mean? I concur. An interview on KTLA shows the men were helping their relative. LA Mayor Karen Bass was compelled to hold a press conference to debunk other false claims, including the lack of water in California. This one just went crazy. Claims that the tanks weren't full are false. Monday evening, all available water tanks were filled before the fire, Bass said, adding that the water pressure dropped as a result of the massive need to fight as many as 5 large fires in the area simultaneously. So there's no magic pill here. You need water, everybody needs it, everybody's desperate, water pressure goes down. Sounds simple. GoFundMe has been set up to support displaced Black victims of the Eaton fire. According to CBS, full extent of the damage from the Eaton fire is still being assessed as of January 9th. The wildfire intensified by 100 miles per hour Santa Ana winds remains uncontrolled. Fire has already scorched over 10,600 acres, impacting Pasadena, Altadena, and the Los Angeles National Forest, with 10 people losing their lives as a result. News One with some of the horrifying numbers here. Altadena, located just 13 miles northeast of Los Angeles and directly north of Pasadena, has a population that is 18% Black, with a significant portion, 65%, age 65 and older, according to the U.S. Census Bureau. Per archives, historically, Altadena played a key role during the Great Migration, serving as a refuge for African Americans fleeing the Jim Crow South in the early 20th century. Of course, we're going to provide a link here. I mean, it's just a desperate situation. Link to the GoFundMe being shared. Do what's in your heart if you can. Significant portion of the Black population in Altadena, which was decimated by the Eaton fire. Again, age 65 and older. I mean, to make matters worse, there are, of course, scam artists who may take advantage of the Los Angeles wildfires. Officials are warning. Multiple law enforcement entities. You know, it's really a shame that you even have to do this, that you even have to go there. But indeed, they got to go there. Got to go there because people just, well, sometimes tragedies bring out the worst in them. Multiple law enforcement officials have warned of bad actors scheming to take advantage of charitable people looking to chip in and give to those in need due to the fires. We have people with big hearts who want to help. They want to donate. They want to support the victims. California Attorney General Rob Bonta said in a press conference Saturday. But we also see the scammers taking advantage of that goodness and that generosity and scamming and defrauding those individuals. Scammers have at times targeted elderly individuals, immigrants, and non-English speakers, Bonta said. ABC News with the details. It's just despicable to me how you can watch these images, Woes, some people. And while those of us with hearts are saying, oh my goodness, wondering about friends and people we don't even know and how they're doing out there, how they'll rebuild. Can you imagine being a senior citizen who's lived in a place, perhaps several generations? What are you going to do? And yet there are others who just see it as an opportunity. They see dollar signs. They get amped up about how they're going to steal and pillage. What say you?
It's funny you mentioned scams, right? Because I think these right wingers, particularly on X, and the sort of, I guess, community that has been fostered over there, if you could even call it that, by Elon Musk. You got to realize this is a group of people who are absolutely dedicated to a denial that there's actually a climate emergency happening on our planet. So instead of talking about our brand new climate realities, the devastation that can and will be wrought by said realities, and our need for our systems and our institutions to be way more diligent, to be way more, I'm sorry, militant about dealing with this stuff. You can do something that's a dodge, because that's easier to talk about something as stupid as this idea. Where, by the way, Sharon, even if these people were looting, I'm not sure why I should give a damn. Like, obviously, I don't personally think people should loot in a freaking fire, but like, I'm sorry, that wouldn't even rise to the level of something that I'd be thinking about in a time where entire neighborhoods, two entire neighborhoods and communities are being completely destroyed. So much freaking loss, so much heartache. The idea that a couple of guys stole a TV, like, I don't even understand how that could be something that could rise to the level as newsworthy or noteworthy, given the dire situation that people in Los Angeles find themselves in right now.
Yeah. What I think you're saying, and I agree, is it's not good, of course. We don't want people to do this, but it's like, this is a symptom, perhaps. Can we talk about the root cause of some things going on here? And again, these guys were heroes, helping a relative. They didn't have to do it. And yet they're spread throughout the world as thugs, thieves, the worst, right? Because, if you do this kind of thing, you're the lowest of the low, okay? They ought to pull a Ruby Friedman, Che Moss, and sue. Figure out where the money is, go get it, and teach somebody a lesson, because there are other things to do. And you're right, too, because the officials, and they've made this clear, and I don't usually side with the officials, you just do your job and do it better. But they have to spend time debunking things as people are just trying to be safe. I mean, there are people who were unable to care for themselves, who just stayed, couldn't be rescued in time, and died. I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, being here for the last 8 years, here in Los Angeles, I've grown a strong attachment to the city, and you get a sense that, like, obviously this thing is horrible, like people losing their houses, but like once you start hearing the stories, man, about what people like, this is some of this stuff. This is people's life's work, building these homes and making these homes, and having sanctuary, and being in community with one another. And so, yes, like, I'm glad, like, the death toll, it's horrible that people have died, but like, as these fires were so ferocious, it could have been so much worse. I'm glad the death tolls didn't get out of control, but like, when I just sit and think about the amount of loss that has happened for so many people, that's what really bums me out. Just the idea that so many people are starting from scratch all over again after putting so much work into making these places the special places that they were. That's what will continue to break my heart. I just hope that our collective response as a country, as a community, as a city, as much effort goes into making these folks whole, or as whole as we possibly can make them again.
Yeah. And if you want to report on somebody who's looting and stealing, I think it's fact check. Go after some of the insurance companies who are canceling policies, or who have already done so after collecting billions of dollars. Why don't you post those pictures, post those companies, and leave these two heroes alone? We'll move on. Not much better news here. In fact, it's a tragedy. A Black teenager killed by Tennessee police during a questionable raid. Here are the details. Tennessee sheriff's deputies refusing to release, many of them, as to why they shot and killed a 16-year-old. His name, Devon Montez St. Germain. Happened on January 3rd after raiding his family's home at 7:30 a.m. with an alleged search warrant. As of this report, the sheriff's office has refused to specify the reasons behind the search warrant. Why not get out in front of it? Must have been a very dangerous place that they just had to get in there. Shoot first, ask questions later. What do you mean? They're not giving many details. Makes you think someone's getting their story straight. We'll see. Just over an hour after the shooting, the Knox County Sheriff's Office issued the following statement on its Facebook page. Okay, they are saying some things. Oh, this will be interesting. Preliminary information from the scene reveals officers were serving a search warrant. The suspect refused to follow commands while officers were attempting to bring him into custody and displayed a firearm, which time officers discharged their weapons. The officers involved in this incident are uninjured. I can't. However, the suspect is deceased. Maybe it happened exactly like that. Maybe that's exactly what went down. I want to hear from Devon, but of course, we're not going to hear from him because dead men tell no tales. 7:30 in the morning, raid. He didn't follow commands. Atlanta Blackstar giving us the details. Let's give you some more. St. Germain's grandmother, Ernestine Silver, said deputies barged into the home. That would be confusing, scary. Refusing to show warrants, handcuffing the teen's mother, ordering the children outside of the home before entering the teen's room where he'd been sleeping. WBIR reported. Knox County Sheriff's Office has turned the investigation over to the Tennessee Bureau of Investigations, which is also refusing to release any details about the shooting under the rationale that it is still under investigation. We'll stop there. So it's under investigation. We don't want to, say too much before we, figure this out. Get the Bible of what went down here. But you did release a statement, didn't you? And you blamed Devon for his own death. Maybe it's true. I don't know. But now you can't tell us anything when we ask follow-up. But you got out in front with your version of the events. You see how that works? In the aftermath following the shooting death of St. Germain, the sheriff's office has been vague about whether there is available body cam footage from the raid, neither confirming or denying the existence of body camera footage. Didn't ask you to see it, just said, do you have it? And a public records request by Atlanta Blackstar for available videos, photos, documents from the Tennessee Bureau of Investigations related to the case was denied, citing the investigation as well as the fact that Atlanta Blackstar is based outside of the state of Tennessee. The hell does that mean, and what difference does it make? Atlanta Blackstar, interested in Black people everywhere. You just keep changing the rules, don't you? Without shame, because this is silly season. Knox County Sheriff's Office does not equip its SWAT team with body cameras, according to the Knoxville News Sentinel, which also states the neighboring Knoxville Police Department does require its SWAT team to wear body cams. The Knox County Sheriff's Office was actually one of the first law enforcement agencies in the state to issue body cameras, while the city's police department waited another 5 years before issuing the cameras to its officers. Needed the money or something? Since then, the sheriff's office has a history of downplaying use of force captured on deputies' body cams, the News Sentinel reported. And in one case from 2021, KCSO denied having body cam video of a raid, even though it had voluminous recordings. So you lied. And we're supposed to believe your version. In another from 2021, KCSO reported it had no video from an arrest, but later produced a video clip the newspaper added. Over the years, the News Sentinel has been reporting on the lack of transparency from the Knox County Sheriff's Office, revealing that the agency even hides body cam footage from the Knox County District Attorney's Office. This is criminal. If this is being done, where is it? You try it. This is criminal. Sheriff's Office failure to comply with the law raises questions about how often it conceals video evidence, and questions about prosecutions that rely on the agency's investigations. It raises questions about why someone is being allowed to commit crimes. According to an article, April 2024. And it reveals the consequences of what happens when one of the largest law enforcement agencies in the state operates with zero oversight. We're Sheriff Tom Spangle there currently runs the Knox County Sheriff's Office, and you probably said, we're going, I can't get my Tennessee accent right. We're going to look into this. We can give you full report. No, you're not, Sheriff. And I can say that because you haven't done so in the past, and you're saying goofy stuff. And I know he talks like that. And then you just be patient. They probably would have banned me from their pressers. I'd be right in the front row asking follow-up after follow-up while Blondie next to me is looking at me like, whoa, she's going to get us all in trouble. Yes, I am. I'm going to ask the appropriate questions, put out a statement, and then said, oh, we can't talk. It's preliminary. Won't tell us if there's body cam. Tells Atlanta Black Star, who's all up in your crawl, well, you're not from the state, so we made up another little bubblegum code about how we can't give you any of the footage. I'll let you have it, Woes, but these people, stop with the whole, we need some oversight. Some people, when I was an anchor in Cleveland for about 10 years, 9.9 years too long, there was this one, sheriff, crotchety sheriff. He's gone now. And I was in a town hall with him, and I was saying, but you did this, and this. I'm pointing out all the things that were just not okay with how he was running things. There's a thing called rights. People do have some rights, Sheriff. And he said, Sharon, and he grabbed his cane and said, some people need jail. Well, I disagreed with him back then, but in this case, some people need jail. And guess who that is? Okay, until further notice, not people like Devon. May he rest and may his family seek some comfort here and a lawsuit. What say you, Woes?
Thoughts definitely go out to the family. Obviously, this is just a tragic situation. And, in terms of the police doing a bunch of ass covering, nobody should be surprised by that. This is ingrained within the culture and the fabric of pretty much most police departments. They protect their own. They will make sure that they, face a limited liability and consequences, even when they make the gravest of mistakes, even when their mistakes are disastrous. And it doesn't get more disastrous than killing a 16-year-old kid in a freaking drug raid. This isn't like these guys were saving somebody's life and the teen was like putting people's lives in danger and they killed the guy, right? Like, for instance, what the cops did with the dude in New Orleans who, basically went ballistic and killed a bunch of innocent people on New Year's Eve. They killed the guy who was killing people. Okay, everybody seems to be pretty fine with that. Nobody's going to question the logic of that shooting. And guess what? They didn't have to obfuscate for hours and days as to why they had to kill a guy. Obviously, in this instance right here, they screwed up. And that's why they're taking so long to get their official story in order. And you know what? Obviously, one day we're going to need these guys to talk about the shooting itself. How about right now, you let us know why it was you had to be in that house in the first place. What was your evidence that was provided to you that you needed to run into somebody's house, guns a-blazing at 7:30 in the morning to find drugs? Really? Really? How many drugs did you find? Who are you, we need to know what went behind this raid. How about that? Before you even get into the shooting and the justification and what this kid may or may not have done to be shot, why were you there in the first place? That's what we need to be hearing about in the meantime. And that's what I think is the saddest tragedy of all of this is like a lot of times these cops, man, they're just so itchy for some quote unquote action. And they run up in a family home and act like they're the freaking A-team or some wild cowboys coming to get somebody at high noon. And so a young kid's life, man, is lost in the process. It doesn't get much worse than this.
No, it doesn't. and and when Mr. T and Hannibal and them, dating myself, ran up on a joint, they had their act together and they had a plan, and they executed it. They even had contingency plans. This didn't happen on Mr. T's watch. And I'm not making a joke of this. I'm saying this is how low your bar is, okay? A TV show where with a guy who wear, the gold chain, they had their act together more than you did. This is so serious, and what they're waiting, Woes, is for people to fall asleep again. They know how it works. Go on back to sleep, and then we'll whitewash this investigation too. Because in all the chronicling that the newspaper down there did, I didn't see anything where there was this massive corruption arrest and people went to jail for these things. They were just marking off the tragedies and the lack of consequences. So I just wonder what point we're going to, I don't even want the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. Do that. Who among us, raise your hand, and I think I can see you. Raise your hand if you think it's a good idea for the police to investigate the police, same area too, okay? Who thinks that's a good idea? So I can slap your hand down. Okay, you're wrong. I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, I mean, what'll probably end up happening, they're going to try to settle with the family quietly. And I do think, obviously, the family deserves some measure of restitution here for this insane loss, of course. But I think when things go quietly, sorry, into the night, it's much harder to achieve even, like the smallest modicum of reform. And so that something like this doesn't happen in the future. So that's all we can hope for, that at least something in the positive can come out of this, so that we reduce the chances that some innocent person can get killed in their house at 7:30 in the morning again.
Yeah. And you know what, Sheriff Tom Spangler, the next time you authorize a statement to go out where you try to change the narrative, by the way, no law enforcement injured, but the suspect's deceased. It's the oldest trick in the book, okay? Oldest trick in the book. Look, Mommy, I emptied the dishwasher. By the way, I got an F. Oh, okay. Sit down. All right, let's move on to this next one. Here's what we know. This is a changing matter here at Fox Sports. What we do know is Fox Sports is apparently as messy as Fox News, okay? Scandalous. We'll give you the update now over the hostile work environment lawsuit. It may grow. Oh, just like over at Fox News. Remember how many people got in the mix there? Here's the update. Fox Sports legal drama over hostile work environment could grow as the case proceeds. Now, in this shot, Skip Bayless looks like it's an episode of Law and Order, doesn't it? Apparently, though, according to the lawsuit, it was nothing like that. Very dramatic headshot, no? Is this what was up on the network? It's very dramatic, even scary a little bit. Anyway, the case could grow as it proceeds, and the complaint, Nishin Faraji accuses Bayless of making inappropriate advances toward her, offering her $1.5 million in exchange for sex. Also alleged that the executive vice president of content, Charlie Dixon, groped her during a party, and that Joy Taylor created a hostile work environment, according to Front Office Sports. I can barely read the details with this picture staring at me, but go on and keep it if that's what you're going to do. You didn't find that it's very, very dramatic. Why? And the lighting? You see what I mean? The shadows that they're using. Marcellus Wiley, former co-host of S1's Speak for Yourself, is speaking for himself, saying he's now considering suing the network for conspiring to replace him on the show with Joy Taylor, who allegedly curried the favor of Dixon with sexual favors and dismissed concerns from the hairdresser, Nushin Faraji, of sexual harassment. We should mention, Joy Taylor could be innocent in this whole thing. And I don't know what to believe, but I know somebody somewhere, corporate, saying, why didn't we just settle with the hairdresser or let her keep doing hair? Okay? Because this thing's out of control. I don't know what to believe, but this is what the update is. These are the people that are being mentioned. Okay? We'll see. Hollywood Reporter giving us some details. I'm trying to take that look right now, Wiley said in an interview Wednesday with Jason Whitlock. Okay, there, you just discredits everything for me. You're now going to Jason Whitlock he's now leading on the story. He's breaking news on the story. Okay. As Faraji pursues discovery over the extent of network executives' awareness of the alleged misconduct, she also said she may name Fox Sports president Mark Silverman and Fox Sports chief executive Eric Shanks in the lawsuit. You get named, you get named, you get named, then you get named. Just like, remember when Oprah gave the cars? Here, you're in the lawsuit. You want it? There you go. You're in it. This thing is going to be out of control. Who will not be named in the lawsuit? Give us that short list on a Post-it note. Details within the suit include the following. Lawsuit filed January 3rd, Los Angeles Superior County Court. Faraji sued Fox Sports, Dixon, Skip Bayless for sexual battery, hostile work environment. She accused Dixon of, quote, rubbing her body and grabbing her buttocks at a birthday party in 2017 for Taylor and Bayless, who allegedly offered her $1.5 million for sex. That's Bayless, not Taylor. At least she's not accused of that. Of repeatedly pressing his body against her, kissing her cheeks, Fox allegedly fired her at Dixon's direction for disclosing information about his sexual relationships with network employees, according to the complaint. So you're in charge down there, and you go to corporate and say, I want her out of here. Well, what did she do, Charlie? She's telling everybody who I'm having sex with. Loose lips. No one said, but if you just kept it, then we wouldn't. They just said, she's gone. Okay. All right. We'll see. Okay. Caught up in the lawsuit is some of Fox Sports' top broadcasting talent, including ex-Speak for Yourself host Emmanuel Aiko, was also allegedly engaged in a relationship with Taylor. 2022, the show was rebranded as Speak, with Taylor replacing Wiley, while Aiko co-hosts the facility. He got to keep his gig. When the lawsuit was filed, Wiley said in an interview that he realized he got squeezed because Charlie and Joy and Aiko are all running the triangle on me. Well, is that a basketball term? I covered football and basketball, and I don't believe it's a football term. I think Marcellus is football. He's mixing the terms. It's a triangle, right? That was Phil Jackson's offense.
It's Phil Jackson's. Tex Winter invented the offense. Phil Jackson's assistant. Yeah. But yeah, it's a basketball reference. Shouts to Tex Winters and Phil Jackson. Yeah. So it didn't work for me, that quote. I want him to stick to football, even if he is retired. I'll give you some more, and then I'll get your comments on this one, because it's something else, okay? So Marcellus uses the basketball reference for what he claims was done to him. Hollywood Reporter with the details. The proposed class action also seeks to represent other Fox employees who allegedly weren't paid the required minimum and overtime wages. But they're going to get them on the overtime, I can tell you that. You know how much overtime I probably should be getting? And they say, well, you made a lot of money. So what? The law is the law. The proposed class action also seeks to represent other Fox employees. One lawsuit, more salacious claims. The plaintiff says that Taylor engaged in a sexual relationship with Dixon to get a position on Undisputed. Lawsuit alleges a harrowing saga of systemic abuse and complicity over almost a decade. Despite the breadth of the allegations, the majority of online backlash by sports fans, tabloids, and even some commenters has, let's go after the woman. Let's go after the beautiful woman who doesn't belong in sports. How dare she? She's leading with sex. Unsurprisingly, directed at Joy Taylor. Box with the reporting. Amid Fox Sports lawsuit, Joy Taylor is being dragged over old clips of her romantic views. Is it fair? Well, in a clip from her Too Personal podcast, she says, I bet she regrets naming it that. Too personal. And now she wants to just pull it all back. Can't do that. Doesn't work like that. Can we just keep it a buck? If they're fine enough, if they're funny enough, or if their financial status is what you want, fine. Funny. Effing money. She continued. You're throwing all boundaries and standards.
Clips are going viral now, taking away from the real story, the saga of alleged systemic abuse and complicity over almost a decade at the network. Other inappropriate jokes about Taylor and other women in sports media are, of course, already being made. Now, see, this is the part where I am a rebel. Fox Sports, I don't doubt that there's some Wild West type nonsense going on there, just like ESPN and the reporting over the years. But I need people to hear me. I don't care if Joy Taylor was having liaisons with everyone. She's an adult and she can do what she want to do. If it's forced, if it's, or if it didn't happen, sometimes people are just better than you at the job. Marcella's only the best people. I don't know that that's the case with you, but that's just my opinion. And that's the beauty of this whole thing. You can kind of get lost in opinions and preferences. But yeah, sometimes they're rooted in sexism and racism and who's hot and who's not. I mean, if the men were judged like that, would Skip Bayless have ever been on TV? No. And that's just a fact. So I hate this double standard, Woes, where it's joy, joy, joy. And she was a diva. Do you know how men act in the workplace, particularly talent sometimes? And you're sitting up here worried about one woman who allegedly had to sleep around to get in the chair. She had no power. Y'all ought to be, I wish more women would replace more of them, even if they're not as good as them, just so you could see how it feels. I know I'm all over the place, but I'll let you talk now.
I would just like to say a couple of things. First and foremost, just full disclosure to the audience. I've had a decent amount of interactions with Marcellus Wiley. He's always been really nice to me. He's always had just like a very positive and sunny disposition, and his reputation from other people that I know in our industry that know him better than me is like kind of the same. He seems to be like a pretty decent guy. So like that, I just want to get that out the way. Joy Taylor, I don't know her personally. Tangentially, like we know we have some friends in common, but I don't know anything about Joy. I don't know Joy Taylor personally. I can't speak to the validity of what's being accused here. What I will say, in terms of why people might be running with the Joy Taylor angle, particularly on the internet, which tends to be just a more male-dominated space, for better and for worse. Some would say mostly for the worse. I think in this post-Me Too moment, I think this is a story that flips that Me Too dynamic on its head, because it's this idea, again, if any of this is true, is that Joy Taylor used sex for her own advantage. People aren't talking about this concept of a power imbalance or power dynamic between her, who, some might say she had a middling position over at the network, and, an executive who could basically make big decisions that could affect her career, or even Emmanuel Acho, a guy who is more prominent in his status at the company. There are people who are saying, are just, I guess, whatever. They're just having too much fun or way too fixated on the idea that a woman might use her own sexuality in order to further her career. Here's what I'll say about all of that, whether it's true or it's not. Joy Taylor, in my opinion, is actually good. She's actually good at what she does over there. She actually does a lot of the homework. She gives pretty informed. I know on football, she is really freaking good. She's not, and again, this isn't an industry, by the way, where a lot of the times the women that are on TV tend to be like a little bit more than window dressing. They're eye candy. They're not opinionists. They're not people who are offering analysis about the sports that their networks are covering. And for me personally, again, as a fan of sports media, as a big consumer of sports media, you can say whatever the hell you want to say about Joy Taylor and how she got to where she got, or she skipped steps, or she rose faster than other people. Joy Taylor's really good. Joy Taylor's a really compelling analyst, in my opinion, as somebody who consumes a lot of media. And so that's why, for me, I don't really care. And maybe if Joy Taylor was bad at what she does, I might be up here and be like, that's weird. Maybe there's something to this. Somebody who's not good getting this kind of role that makes no, like, this woman is excellent at her job.
Okay.
And so that's why I think a lot of this is BS.
I just think I deserve a pat on the back because I didn't interrupt. And I wanted to. Number one, I will say this about your friend, Marcellus Wiley. Perhaps I am being unfair. The truth is, I didn't like his wife on the one season on Beverly Hills Housewives. She got on my nerves. And so that's just the truth. I said, who cast her? She was annoying start to finish, and then they got rid of her. And I'm human. That could be it. Now, the reason I pat myself on the back for not interrupting you is because I don't know that things will be this heated between us since, what did we argue about the last time? Caitlin Clark? I was right back then, too. The fact that you even have to run down Joy Taylor's resume and judge her as good at her job is exactly the point. Nobody does that with these bums, these men who have been stealing the money in these jobs for years because some groupie executive put them on the air when they shouldn't be on the air, okay? So the standard's not she's great at her job. She'd fit in great if she sucked at her job. If she stunk at her job.
You don't think people should have to be good at their job?
Great. Because there's a lot of male bums doing that job, okay? The other thing is, you said, it turns Me Too on its head. And I wish we had that game show buzzer that when you were wrong, and it was like, it's so loud and annoying. Or you go over on The Price is Right, you're wrong. I'm going to tell you why. Mm-hmm. Okay, you're invited on to give your opinion. I don't know if Doc would like me doing this, but now I rip it apart. I have to, you understand? And here's why I have to. The minute I step into this role that I've prepared for my whole life, that I've dreamed about since I was a little girl, that I've studied, this I wanted more than anything. And some dude, male groupie, notices me and likes me. I guess I have a choice. I can say I'm not interested. If the circumstances are what they are at Fox Sports, how would that play out? So do I just take my ball and go home after I've worked so hard? She wasn't in control of anything. If the circumstances are correct, she had to do something in order to get something she worked hard for. If the circumstances are correct. I think it's only fair I give you the last word.
Yeah, again, I don't know that any of the stuff that's being alleged actually happened. I was just making the point that it doesn't matter. Because I actually do think people should be good at their jobs, whether they're a man or a woman. Like, to me, this idea of merit that people on the internet are throwing around, like this idea that there should be, so I think what people try to say is that there should be some dues paid or blah, 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 blah. Like, I actually don't agree with that. I actually think if somebody's excellent, that's who should be in these jobs. That's the only point that I would make. I don't know if Joy Taylor had sex with these people.
Turn the dial. I guess that's old. Use the remote and flip around and you tell me, is everybody on TV good? I mean, I see people at the network who don't belong in Yakima.
I would say
they don't belong in Yakima on the air.
I would say the most prominent people in our industry, especially on air talent, most of them are good. That's what I would say. Like, if you are commanding an audience every single day and you are the one that's in front of those cameras, like, especially a company like ESPN, they're notorious for treating people as interchangeable. Like, you're not bigger than the brand, blah, 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 blah. And there are certain people who, when you replace them with other people, the audience leaves, right? So if you're somebody who is constantly commanding an audience, I can't argue against you actually being good or not. Like, some of us are interchangeable, and some of us aren't. All I'm saying is, I think it is important that people be good at their jobs. That's all I'm saying. Like, I do think that's
part we agree on. But I'm going to ask the crack team to pull up some ratings. Then you lost me at commanding an audience, okay? Because there's a major cable network that has horrible ratings, and some of their biggest blowhard stars are making bazillions, and they haven't. A local newscast gets a bigger audience than a couple of them. But I hear you. We both want people to be excellent and be judged on their merits. Unfortunately, this is America, and that's not the case. It's just not the case. I still love you, and you are allowed to speak your mind, but I do hope the team can get me that buzzer at some point. I think I did a good job at first. I didn't interrupt, okay? I then very succinctly presented my opinion as fact. And that's what, now that part is what we women do. Very good at that. All right, this is indisputable. Dr. Ritchie has the day off. Wozni Lambre is here. You're okay, right, Woz? You don't mind.
I'm fantastic. I love when you disagree with me.
You do? You like that, huh? I had a boyfriend like that before who just wanted me to go off on him, was a turn on, okay? The problem is he just wasn't about much. You're out of here. This is indisputable, much more to come.
Do all of you know the Young Turks?
An outlet like yourself that are willing to cover this story from the very beginning.
You have the Young Turks and a bunch of other progressive forces saying this is the time to fight for our values.
And I think right now there are a lot of progressive voters, many leftists who feel like they don't have a home.
And this is why what Cenk and the Young Turks are doing is so important.
What we've done is sustainable, slow, healthy growth. And I think that's the way news should be, where you don't rely on sensationalist stuff. You don't lean on whatever's trendy in the news at any given moment. You just go with the truth.
You gave me a platform.
You've uplifted so many other progressive voices through this network, and you're constantly looking for people that you can amplify through the work we do, through the infrastructure that you built at TYT.
It takes those early people who believe that can really be the seeds of this movement, and that has been the Young Turks.
We're super serious about the news. We also managed to do it in a way that is fun and lighthearted. We're not TYT, you're TYT.
You are the media revolution. You are much needed.
TYT, TYT.
The place is like 95% TYT on.
Favorite channel, we're getting that message out.
Cenk and the Young Turks do an extraordinarily good job.
No matter what mainstream media says, you have to listen to the Young Turks.
All the people who support us on the internet, that's what gives us strength. That's what allows anyone who was in there who was undecided to think one side seems to be winning, they seem to have a bigger army. There might be a reason for that. So thank you guys.
Welcome back to Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie. I am Sharon Reed in for Doc today, and Wozni Lambre's here. Woz, tell people what you're up to these days.
Man, just check out our coverage of the NBA, NFL, and pop culture at large over at theringer.com. And yeah, listen to the group chat podcast, the Ringer NBA podcast, wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah, we love the work you do. Love being on with you. And yes, I love our spirited debates.
Me too.
I miss them, okay? Sometimes just call me just to argue a few minutes before I go to bed or something. That would help me sleep. Let's get to some of your comments. We appreciate our wonderful TYT audience. And you are busy today. Biden flavor corn pop says, say it, bullseye. Sharon girl. I can bet that's about the Fox Sports story. Joy Taylor. Yeah, thank you. Deck says, yes, Sharon, sue their reckless punk asses into poverty. Can't even be charitable while black. This is the two guys who were helping a relative, desperately carrying belongings out of their home. And suddenly they're viral, accused of looting. No evidence, no facts to back that up. Nostra Science says, just you wait. The racist Q MAGA will blame LA's firefighting water pressure loss on the opening of Tiana's Bayou Adventure in Disneyland. And you just gave them an idea. And this will happen. It'll happen. They're already calling out the Kardashians' water usage. All right, January started with a bang. Whole January 20th is near, B. Brown says. Michael Martin says, been a firefighter for 20 years. None of us thought this was possible. I fought all the biggest fires in California. This one is a game changer. It's that part. We hear about, oh, it's fire season, this and that. And then you see the pictures and you hear the correlation. Bigger than San Francisco proper, Boston. That's how big this area is. Frankie T. Woncombe Esquire says, I had to start again from scratch. It's not easy. It takes 5+ years to even get close to being okay. Yeah, it just steals your life. Steals your life. One more for you about those sheriffs and 16-year-old killed in some kind of raid. We don't know what the details were. They won't tell us. Knoxville, Tennessee. Knox and Caleb County are always in the news over this type of police brutality. I've noticed over the years, watching Indisputable. Yep. Indeed, repeat offenders. And seemingly they'll go on. They've not made any changes because they haven't been forced to. Again, if this stuff went on, some of what's being alleged, it's a crime. There's no suspended, shouldn't be a police officer, brutality. Some of this would be a crime. Okay? It's just that simple. But hey, what do I know? Well, here's what I know. I don't mind a good argument. It might be part of my personality. And I don't shy away from that. I think it's one of my best qualities. If you like, loud, okay? But I don't like to argue with everyone because some people, they're just not worthy of sparring with. You know, that's why I enjoy when Woes is on the show, because we're sparring and it's fun. A lot of times we agree. But when you're just nutty, dippy, and I think racists are dumb, right? This is science and you don't understand the science. And that's when I just say, it's a simple thing you can say and then walk away. I wish a Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel great! Back off!
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
Because you're pointing at me! Stop yelling at me! You're pointing at my face when you say that, and how are you pointing at my face? Because you're pointing at me first! You know what? It's a safety reason. I don't care! Not only for you. I don't listen to you!
You know what they say when you're pointing the finger? What do they say, Woes? When you're pointing the finger, what's going on?
There's 4 fingers pointing back at you?
Right. It's just that simple. Tell you about this one. Karen delays flight over not wanting to wear a seatbelt. According to New York Post, hell-raising mom caused an hour-long flight delay after refusing to buckle her seatbelt because she can. And even screamed when flight attendants tried to calm her. As seen in a wild video, disruption occurred aboard a Batik Air flight that was slated to travel from Vietnam to Malaysia. Jam Press reported. Crew members had been conducting pre-takeoff cabin checks when they noticed that said passenger, who was flying with her child, didn't have her seatbelt fastened. Oh, you must have forgotten, please. When they asked her to put it on, the Vietnamese national threw a tantrum. The footage, filmed on fellow passenger's phone, the incensed traveler can be seen going at it. The female crew member, who was standing over her in the aisle, "Stop yelling at me," said the flight attendant, as the passenger repeatedly shouted, "You pointed at my face." Flight attendant weathered the verbal barrage, calmly stating that the seatbelt is for safety purposes, not just for you, but also for your child. I don't care. I don't have to listen to you. yelled the flyer. New York Post with colorful details on this one. It's just, put your seatbelt on, then we can leave, ma'am, please. Fly witnesses claim the spat resulted in an hour-long delay during which authorities boarded the Boeing 737, escorted the hellion off the plane. The video, I don't know if you can see it, but the video, I can pull it up here because it's very interesting to me. It showed passengers cheering while the bozo was deplaning. I just saw a little bit of a smirk, but not it. I'm going to let you have all of this because I probably would have cheered too. And frankly, I understand it's not the flight attendant's job, but you don't put your seatbelt on? I'm hoping for a rough landing.
It's so crazy. I wonder what kind of rules or regulations they have in Vietnam or the Philippines, because I know for a fact, folks have to respect how easily they can end up on that no-fly list. And next time you need to go anywhere, you're gonna have to drive or take a train or take a boat or something. Like, just the idea that you don't respect the laws of the air, that you would put yourself at risk for being banned for maybe forever or for a period of time from flying, man. I just think that's so crazy to me. And it's for something this minuscule, like just buckling up. And, just to give the passenger a little bit of credit, I always think to myself, like, really, like, if this plane crashed, would I survive because I had my seatbelt on? Probably not. But you just respect what these folks are asking you to do. Like, they're the professionals. They're the ones that we've put in charge in terms of the stewardesses and the pilots. Let them do their job, man. Just follow directions. And this thing will go better than that. But yeah, I don't know how you could think you could stand and sit in defiance of the rules of the air. It doesn't work like that, lady.
Karens are like, I've got no borders, okay? And I'm gonna do what I want to do. I agree with you wholeheartely, except for the part about the seatbelts and the plane crashes and survivability. I've watched every episode of Air Disaster, and it's survivable, okay? Rough landings, this and that. So you just gotta follow the rules. Let's move on to this one. Privilege at its finest. A teen driver drove 151 miles per hour, killing 6 people, gets... Must be a typo, but it says 12 years. That's it. 2 years per life. Wow. Noel Galley, a Florida TikToker known for posting videos of himself speeding recently, avoided a lengthy jail sentence for a crash he caused nearly 3 years ago that killed 6 people. In exchange for a guilty plea, the 20-year-old Noel Galley received a 12-year prison sentence, after speeding nearly 100 miles per hour over the speed limit on a Palm Beach County road, causing a fatal crash. It was January 27, 2022. That evening, then 17-year-old Galley was racing his $100,000 2019 BMW M5 at 151 miles per hour on a state road with a speed limit of 55 miles per hour. And he slammed it into an SUV. What a brat. Merlane Julesius, on the left there, was driving 5 co-workers in her SUV, including grandmother Marie Louise on the right, when Galley allegedly crashed into them, claiming the lives of all 6 people. Local reports identified the fatal incident as one of the deadliest crashes in Palm Beach County, Florida. These women should be here. Galley, the son of prominent Palm Beach County attorney Craig Galley, became widely known on TikTok for videos of him barreling down county roads and highways at dizzying speeds and paying $25 to any viewer who could correctly guess his speed. New York Post reported that a search of the young Galley's social media accounts revealed an Instagram video of him driving 182 miles per hour on I-95. Negotiated by Galley's legal team and Chief Assistant State Attorney Al Johnson, the plea bargain Galley accepted for the 2022 crash saved him from potentially spending the rest of his life in prison. Had he gone to trial, been convicted, he could have faced up to 90 years in prison for the 6 counts of vehicular homicide he was charged with. Each charge carries a max sentence of 15 years per. When asked why Galley deserved the reduced sentence, his defense attorneys wrote in a memorandum that the 20-year-old's remorse, his efforts to fundraise for the victims' families, they wouldn't be victims if it wasn't for your bratty butt doubling the speed limit on I-95 and other places. Fundraise for the victims' families, several significant undiagnosed medical conditions they blame for the crash were all factors in the plea negotiations, according to the Palm Beach Post. Bunch of bunk. Galley will only have to serve a minimum of 85% of his sentence, which amounts to roughly 10 years. Once he completes his prison term, he'll be on probation for 7 years, and his license will be revoked for 3 years, as if he should ever get it back. The judge presiding over Galley's case also ordered the 20-year-old to post a 1-minute video sharing his story, advocating for the importance of safe driving. Must also complete 800 hours of community service, take a 12-hour driving course, attend a panel where he will hear stories from crash victims about how injuries from dangerous driving have affected their lives. His sentence will begin February 3rd. Until then, he'll spend the next few weeks under house arrest. Slap on the wrist, just a real smug, privileged punk is this guy. 12 years. And I predict, I don't care what the minimum is. I remember when your privilege was, it doesn't apply to you. And this kid, in my view, he reminds me of that influenza case where the kid had too much, so it wasn't his fault. And he successfully argued that to a judge after hurting people, killing people. This is asinine. It's like inside baseball. His father's a prominent lawyer, so he knows other prominent people. This sucks.
Yeah, I don't think there's any other way to look at this thing here. A complete and utter tragedy, senseless that it happened. Like a lot of times with these things, man, for me, I am somebody that I don't know that this kid should have to spend 50 years in prison. Somebody this young commits a reckless act. I do believe that there should be some level of redemption for people in society who mess up. It just feels like this courtesy is never extended to people who aren't rich as hell
that part
already. That's my main problem. I actually do believe in the principle that like a kid commits a crime when he's 17 or whatever, but maybe we shouldn't have him be in prison for 65 years. Maybe we should try to figure out some way that this person could be redeemed and one day become, a contributing member of society. But again, the judges, they seem to never find this kind of mercy for people who don't come from these very privileged backgrounds. And that's what's really grinding my gears when I learned about this case and reading up on it. It's just this courtesy just rarely gets extended to normal, everyday folks.
Yeah, it rarely gets extended to Black people and brown people, okay? And there's not gonna be, I agree with you, redemption, but not when it's, doled out because some people are better than other people. There's not gonna be redemption for this kid. Not when his daddy's gotten him out of everything. TikTok. Oh, and then your harsh penalty is also going to be, you're going to post a video on TikTok about how dangerous. Get out of here. He should never be able to drive again. That's your hard time, okay? Because that would really bother him. Rose, always love sparring with you. Always love your insight. Oh, there's that rich painting again. I always notice the artwork behind you. That's a real gem. Don't disclose your location. I don't want you to become a target.
No, I'll be fine. Thank you. It's always fun to be on with you. I love coming on with you, and especially first thing on a Monday morning. It's a jolt to the system. It's better than an espresso shot.
Baby. That's right. Okay. 2 Excedrin will take care of that. Love you, appreciate you, and I'll see you next time. Yep, this is Indisputable. The Bullpen is next.
I don't care if you're Christian. In fact, I will fight for you to have your religious liberty and practice your Christianity. I believe in that. I don't believe in Christianity, which means that you do not get to dictate the way I live my life based on your religion. I don't care what the Bible says. You have every right in the world. All those women who identify with your religion have every right in the world to not get an abortion, to not take birth control, but they do not have the right to dictate my life and what I decide to do with my body. I don't care about your goddamn religion. I'm so tired of having nonstop conversations about what the Bible says. You live your life in the way that you interpret the Bible. Again, I don't care, but you don't get to take the Bible and tell me, well, the Bible says this in this chapter, in this verse. I don't care. I don't care, I don't believe in it, and I have the right, based on our Constitution, to not believe in it.
Here I am, Nancy Pelosi, saying this country needs a strong Republican Party, and we do.
No one is representing what I call the silent majority, which is about 2/3 of this country, indisputably progressive.
But now we say the time has come for regime change in American television.
The Young Turks Network.
You have the Young Turks saying this is the time to fight for our values.
Young Turks is the oldest left media institution I believe that there is. Real front runner in the online media space.
You guys might know us. Biggest online left of center outlet that exists.
All of you know the Young Turks?
People from this district heard about Justice Democrats by watching your show.
Thanks to the Young Turks for covering Trayvon Martin's case early on when few people were covered.
They don't stop, I won't stop. Racism won't stop, so I won't stop.
Species are at risk of going extinct. Major media outlets did not dedicate much time at all to that.
We reached a whole heap of people with our progressive message. We're not the Young Turks, you're the Young Turks.
That 300 million is a pretty good number, Well, that's the size of the US population. You know what our next target is? The size of the entire world.
We just crossed 5 billion views on YouTube.
I mean, imagine 10 years ago thinking one day, we looked at you like, are you nuts?
Young Turks has just passed another milestone. 25 billion lifetime views.
Damn.
Too strong, way too strong. That's 25 billion times someone watched the progressive message delivered to people all over the world. You know who helped to do that? You guys did. Our members and our audience are amazing, and they helped us to reach 2 generations, both millennials and Gen Z. They're both super progressive. And I gotta tell you, we're just getting started. Thank you. All right, lots of comments. You guys are the best.
I'm gonna read a few comments from our members.
Mr. Methuselah says on YouTube, super chat, thanks for all the important work you do for TYT for the movement.
Do you know who had the first super chat when I got back from vacation? You won't be surprised to find out. Billy B. Taylor. What do you know? Billy says, rejoice, for Dragon Daddy has returned.
This question sent to us by Izzy Sanchez Jr. Is it me or is Meghan McCain talking as fast as Ben Shapiro? Is that the way the right tries to look smart and intellectual? Well, yes.
Michael Nathan writes it on Twitter. Did Anna choose Cenk's outfit today? I'm sure it wasn't Cenk himself. Man Bun Cenk and Skinny Jeans says, so now Anna has pointed out, okay, that's his handle.
T. Joyce, 1971, saying Donald Trump is good at pulling out of things, NAFTA, the Iran deal, NATO. It's just too bad Fred Trump didn't.
Welcome to the bullpen. Love the bullpen, and this is a good one, okay? Jason Fauntleroy, remember him? We'll give you the backstory if we can. They blocked my calls, if you can believe it. Not an ex-girlfriend, but officials in government blocked his calls. The Ohio man accidentally bought an entire street for $5,000. That's a great deal. Now the city wants it back, and here's what happened. Jason Fauntleroy thought he snagged a great deal when he purchased a vacant lot in Trenton, Ohio for $5,000 from the Butler County Sheriff's Office auction 3 years ago. Yet he quickly realized he got more than he bargained for. He only planned to use the lot to build himself a home, but the price included the entire street where several other homes are located. Now, the city of Trenton is trying to reclaim the street through eminent domain. Fauntleroy told WCPO 9 News he's not being offered what he deserves. They shut me out, Fauntleroy said of his interactions with the city. They blocked my calls. It's hard to even get through to anybody. It's been a nightmare. When the city began the process of reclaiming the land, Fauntleroy says they only assessed the value of the lot, not the entire street. And there's the rub. And so let's introduce Jason Fauntleroy. Welcome to the program. We appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We gave people the backstory. Before we get to what's going on right now, though, tell me your initial thoughts. You just wanted to build a home, and you end up with a whole street.
Yeah, it started off going to work one day, leaving my paperwork out, and my daughter going around messing with my paperwork, and she noticed the line going all the way to the end, and then she noticed like my other paperwork says rent on it. Then she was like, I came home, she was like, Daddy, you can charge rent for this? And I thought she was crazy. Then I'm looking at the diagram. I said, oh, so then that shift my process of looking at the declarations, because it was a homeowners association, to doing more detail about the street inquiry. So luckily for her, she discovered it, and I took forth the initiative to here. And
daughters are smart. I have one of those, and it amazes me. We think we have all the answers, and then they go minding our business, and they figure out something that we don't know. So once you realize that you had all this, there's joy, I'm sure, even jubilation. But when the city says, no, not so fast, how does that go down?
Well, it started because when I got it, the residents that stay there, they're supposed to pay me rent to use my property. So I've been going back and forth with them trying to negotiate, but their attorney, once again, would just not take my calls and make them believe that they have privilege to the property, but I own it. So which means telling them that they can tear it up, they can do whatever, but I'm cause for any injuries or occurrence, accidents or anything, which is crazy. But with her telling them, the lot owners that, it caused a lot of conflict and confusion, slowed down the process of getting it repaid. So with that being said, the city took the opportunity of taking that and saying I'm not repairing the street and trying to use eminent domain by that course of action of that. But also, that's them saying that, but they only assess, like you said, the lot. Yeah. So they're trying to do more than, they're doing too much.
Yeah. They're doing too much, and they might have the wrong person, because if your daughter's that smart and she found out something, they probably were banking that you wouldn't know, but you know. So do you have an attorney, and what is going on right now?
Well, because the rarity of my property and the privilege and the pertinence that I have, a lot of attorneys did not understand what I have. So they was reluctant to give me any assistance. A lot of them thought I was crazy, but kind of find out what's in writing is what's in writing. And so now I'm really looking for an Ohio attorney to move further in a lot of actions. So right now,
the thing, when did you realize though, because you're making calls, you're doing your due diligence, you're trying to get some answers, some relief even, as you deal with some of your tenants. When did you realize that, I think they blocked my calls?
Nobody will return. And actually the attorney itself, when I call the attorney to even discuss anything of this matter, the city's attorney, it goes straight to his voicemail. I emailed them so I know I got records. I even texted him to make sure I even had records. So he just won't reply to me. I mean, that's just a forceful tactic. Just, we offering you this, you take it or not, we're going to go to court. We got the paperwork saying this, and they believe that the county would be on their side. But
how far are you willing to go here?
Ready to take it all the way, as I should. Because they did a lot of wrong stuff. But it's not even that. It's like a lot of people vote for people in these positions to do the right thing. And when you're having these opportunities and you just using it to take advantage, people should be aware of that because people are going to vote these people back in and have no idea because they're not in these type of situations. Yeah. And like I said, it's not fair.
No, it doesn't seem fair at all. And I like what you said. It's what's written down, right? It's what's in the document, the four corners of it. And that's the way the law is supposed to work. I'm no attorney. I desperately want you to get one. But in the meantime, have you thought about doing some freedom of information request, which by law they have to answer, the discussion surrounding it, who has estimated the value of the lot and the entire property, just things to keep you engaged and that there are a record of.
Yeah, that's what my email to the attorney was. He just won't respond. They felt like they got a good move on bullying me out of my property. So they felt like I don't have to say nothing. And that's how they kind of left it. But they didn't expect it to grasp the attention of the citizens.
Yeah.
And now,
I think, the word bully, it's appropriate. It's probably overused nowadays, but the way you're using it does seem appropriate. What would you say to your neighbors? Because you mentioned that, it's our duty to vote people in to protect our interests. So what would you say to your fellow citizens in the area?
Just do the background on the people you vote for. Their history will speak for themselves. Don't look at the new them, look at the old them to determine the new them. Some changes can be made. Some people stick with the old ways. And in this situation, I believe they stuck to their old ways. And we're here.
Yeah, you're here with an entire street. I take it that you haven't been able to build that house yet either, huh?
No, because the square footage that I was actually looking at was the square footage of the street and the lot combined. So the square footage of the lot itself is really an unbuildable lot. So even for them to even use eminent domain, there's no public use for that. Like, what could you even really put there for the public? Then on top of that, as many, many licensed drivers have driven cars who actually go down the cul-de-sac and just park and just chill, you know?
See, they got the wrong person, Jason. They thought, okay, we'll just push him out. Somebody made a mistake. How did it come to be that you were deeded everything? Was it a mistake initially or a typo? What was it?
There's no mistake in what's supposed to be. You know what I mean? What's supposed to be happen to the right person that's willing to go as far as need be. And I didn't give up many, many times. I tried to work with them many, many times. I was patient many, many times. And now they're starting to understand, like, it's time for business because you can't just tear up somebody's property and make me responsible for what you're using.
Yeah, you won't give me the fair value of it, but you want me to be liable for the maintenance and upkeep and everything else. You mentioned if somebody had an accident on it. it's just not right. Maybe you can take this footage from the bullpen and send it to an attorney who can say, okay, I know exactly where to start here. Just curious, how much did they offer you for just the lot, and how much do you think it's worth?
Well, they offered me $70,000 for the lot. That's cool for a lot, but there's also paperwork saying that the appraiser came to the property to view a portion of the property. But now you want the whole thing. That's not how it works. If you want the whole thing, you pay for the whole thing. So and no matter how hard, how difficult, how long it takes to evaluate a private drive, that's their matter because they're the plaintiffs. That's what they want. That's not up to me to do that. And what I expect for it is open to what the rarity of that brings,
Hey, it's simple give and take. It's a market value, okay?
Yes.
And I think you're right too. It seems you've done some research about eminent domain and you know your rights. Absolutely. But the bottom line sounds like you'll go ahead and give it up, but it's got to be fair. It's got to be equitable. It's got to be for the right price. Am I misstating that?
Definitely on point. Definitely on point. But the honest thing about it, if they would have just came to me, offered me, and asked me and said that as investors or negotiators, me and whatever, we could work something out. But they used the wrong type of tactics, and they thought I was a statistic because they thought that my background was messy and this, that, and the third. But I'm here to say that it's not for all Black men. All Black men is not the statistic that y'all read and think about. I work every day. I don't have nothing on my background except for driving a license, got my license, take care of my daughter, and I'm here, So that's just to clear up anything that people might. There's a lot of good men out there that do the right thing.
I love what you just said there. They thought you were a statistic. And by the way, there's a lot of people who get caught up in the system that should have never been there in the first place. And I don't care who bought the property. And isn't it funny that if you just would have done the right thing, treated somebody with respect, come to the table in decency, this whole thing could have been resolved. We're almost out of time, and perhaps you'll find this improper, but I said I have a daughter too. I mean, since she was so smart and she discovered some things, and when this whole thing finally gets disposed of and you're a whole lot richer, I don't know, you going to break her off a little bit?
Oh, she's definitely entitled to everything. That's my only daughter.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I don't know how old she is. Mine's 13, but that part, she's in charge of everything.
Yeah, well, it's roughly the same age. She's 15.
Okay, so now I know what I'm in store for, but they're smart. Well, I salute you. I hope that you will stay with us and keep updating us on this story. You got to get that lawyer. And maybe this will help. Like I said, you send them the footage and that'll do a lot of explaining for you. But we salute you. And hey, they're going to owe you back rent too. The tenants and everything, they got messed up. But good for you.
Thank you. And I definitely will keep you up posted on anything that occurs.
Thank you so much. Jason Fauntleroy, we appreciate you. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching The Bullpen.